Hi, Amy with Experience the Quilt. Today I'm starting a 3-part series on embellishing an art quilt, but really I'm turning it into a thank you card. So join me.
Welcome to Experience the Quilt. We are a long-arm quilting business based in the Boise, Idaho area. You can drop off or ship your quilts so that we can finish them for you. We quilt all sizes, no extra charge for batting or thread. Sign up for 15% off with your first order at experiencethequilt.com.
So I have a cute woman that I have drawn. This is my pattern, and I had a inspirational photo from a magazine, and I just kind of freehanded the drawing. You can do this from any kind of thing. You can easily just trace a picture too, but I want to keep it pretty simple. You don't want anything really detailed because we're going to be throwing this together quickly, but also we want to add the details with the embellishments. So you don't want a super complicated pattern. So now that I have this pattern, I need to make my pattern that I'm going to cut the pieces apart, and I need freezer paper for that. So I have Reynolds freezer paper that works just fine. You can also, this is a pre-cut freezer paper that I bought years ago. And it's so you can run it through like a printer. I haven't used it in many years, so I'm going to take my pattern and put it on my Cutterpillar Glow light pad that I love because it can change to different colors or different levels of light, and it can go super bright. I did draw my pattern out with a pencil and then outlined it in a dark permanent marker so that I could see it really well when I trace it onto my freezer paper. If you are not using this technique, you don't need freezer paper, but it is one of the easier ways that I have found to make my pattern work. So I'm going to use my pencil, not my marker, and I'm going to just once again draw my pattern onto the freezer paper, just how it is. I'm just drawing all my pattern out so that I can cut it apart with my cool new tools, and I will show you what those are. An X-Acto knife is pretty handy. I use one by the company Slice. I really like it, but you don't need it. You can use any old X-Acto knife. So just tracing this out real quick. I plan on using maybe like a green ribbon for these leaf stems, so I'm just really quickly giving about where it is because I'm not going to be cutting that out of fabric. So you don't really need to draw the face because that's going to be the last thing you put on, but now I have drawn out my pattern with pencil on the freezer paper. That's the shiny side down. Matte side up is what you want to draw on. You don't want to draw on the shiny side. The freezer paper has wax on it, and we want that so that we can cut it out and press it onto our background fabric. These two little cool tools. They're from a company called Slice. This is a teeny tiny, I don't know if you can see the itty bitty blade that is, and I don't get anything from Slice. This is just products that I like. But this is a little teeny tiny blade. This is a bigger one from Slice with a bigger blade. I haven't used it as much. To me, it's a little bit awkward with the way the hole is. I'm getting used to it, but sometimes it helps when you have a bigger piece that you need a bigger blade. So I have placed my pattern on an ironing board. This is a little portable ironing board. You can do it on anything, but having a little bit of a give or softness to where you're cutting works best for these tools. So let's say we are going to start with this bottom piece. I'm going to just push through that freezer paper, and I'm going to cut it out on the line that I want, like a pen. So you can see that's my piece. So I'm going to place that on the color I've chosen for my skirt. So I want it on, this is some hand painted fabric that I have done. And if you're interested in learning how to do that, I have videos on that as well. And I want it right where the color is changing, kind of from an orange to the yellow. So I'm going to kind of just audition where I want it to go. Probably right around here. So then I will iron it. I have a little iron. You can use a big one, but where I'm working with a lot of smaller pieces, it's kind of fun. Okay, so this piece of fabric is already treated. It has fusible webbing on the back of it. It has Misty Fuse because I used it on another project and I saved the scraps. So with this, because I've now ironed the freezer paper down, and part of it is coming up. That's because my iron probably wasn't quite hot enough. I'm going to, normally I would just rough cut around this and then apply the Misty Fuse, but since it's already on there, I can cut pretty much where I need it to be. So there is my pattern with my freezer paper on it. And I just removed the freezer paper, and I might save it because I might place this and maybe I don't like it. So I'll maybe save that piece for later. This is my background that I have chosen, and I've cut it to 10 inches by 12 inches. That's large for a thank you card. I understand that, but I'm still going to do it this way because of the pattern that I picked. I just felt like it would work best, but you totally can make it smaller. So there's my piece, right like that. And I can then take my iron. Technically, well, what I should do is take my pattern, and you're supposed to iron it onto your background. I don't know that I'm going to do that this time. I might. I haven't decided. I may not do that. When I want to be really precise, I do it. Maybe I will. Make sure it's right where I want it. I want it pretty low. So then I take my piece, I put it back where I want it to, where it's supposed to go, like that. And then I make sure the fabric's all under the freezer paper before I iron it. Okay? So really, our piece should be ironed down. I don't know if this is hot enough quite yet. It feels pretty warm. But the cool thing with Misty Fuse is if you make a mistake and you don't like it, it's pretty easy to pull it back up and try again. It's pretty forgiving. And I love that about Misty Fuse, is it holds it down really well. But if I really want it up, I can get it up. So I'm just kind of tacking this down where I want it, making sure that the edges are under the freezer paper. And I can tack this down. If this isn't hot enough, my freezer paper is not going to stick. And it may not because I haven't had it on very long. But having the freezer paper down on my fabric is super helpful. And believe it or not, I'll be able to cut my piece without cutting through to that fabric. Is that crazy? I know you don't believe me, but it works. But now that it's where I want it, I can go on to the next piece. So I don't know what I want for my shadow just yet. So we will start with the next part of the skirt, where we will cut again another piece with my X-Acto knife. And I started cutting a spot that I didn't want. That's okay. It can stay there until I'm ready for the rest of it. So now this piece, I carefully pull the end where there's a tiny little piece there. And I'm going to go for orange, a brighter orange. And once again, I'm going to stick it down. I'm going to use my pressing sheet this time. I don't need to actually, because I don't have Misty Fuse on this one. So it doesn't really matter where you press it. But I do have a pressing sheet for when I do have the Misty Fuse. That is super handy. These little clova irons, once they get hot, they are super hot and they're really handy, especially for little tiny ironing pieces. But until it gets hot, it seems like it's really slow to get hot. But then once it is, it's super duper hot. And I don't ever use it on actual high because it gets so hot, it will burn the freezer paper and it won't stick. If you can believe that. You need a hot iron, but not too hot that it won't stick. So, since this one doesn't have Misty Fuse on the back, I just cut a little rough cut piece. I have a huge roll here of Misty Fuse. So I'm going to cut a piece of it off. My scissors are kind of small because I've been cutting small pieces. Normally I like my big Ginger scissors if I'm going to be cutting something large, but I don't have them over here at the moment. So now that I have this little piece of Misty Fuse, I am going to stick my piece on top of that and cut. And I save all those little pieces because they'll come in handy if you're quilting your quilt and you want to tack it down. It's really handy. Now I'm going to take my freezer paper, not my freezer paper, my pressing sheet, excuse me, and put it over top of my piece and iron it because I don't want the Misty Fuse getting on my iron. So we just iron that down real quick. And those pressing sheets, they get nice and hot to help it seal down. And it's stuck. So now I'm going to cut right on the line. So now that I have my piece done, I'm going to take the freezer paper off, stick it in my pile of scraps, and I will place, oh, my pattern moved because I didn't get it ironed down. So if you want to be super precise, make sure your pattern is ironed down well. This I'm kind of eyeballing anyway because it's a little pattern I've made up and it's kind of cartoony and folksy a little bit, so I think it'll be okay. But I kind of get it where I want it and make sure that the freezer paper is on top, not underneath it, because I don't want to seal that freezer paper down. So then I press it where I want it, and it is ready to go. And I just love watching my quilt, my picture, my art come to life as I do one piece at a time. This has been the first part of a 3-part series, assembling the thank you card. Next, we will be painting and shadowing with inks. Then I will show you how to couch her hair and the flower stem with yarns on the domestic machine. And then I will show you how I turn it into a thank you card to give to someone.
If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. For more like it, just hit that subscribe button below and check out the rest of our YouTube channel. You'll also find videos and tutorials on everything art quilts, whether you're just beginning or learning to enhance your skill.